She went to visit her adopted son for the first time. When she first stepped into Mark's luxurious mansion, everyone watched Mark's warm gesture as he welcomed her, and tears couldn't help but well up. Rose, 68, was a simple woman from the countryside. That day, she carefully stepped into her adopted son Mark's luxurious mansion, wearing a pair of high heels. She looked around the mansion in astonishment, filled with artistic atmosphere. Marble columns, exquisite paintings, and the fragrance of flowers filled the air. Mark was now a successful businessman, but in Rose's eyes, he was still that caring little boy. Rose stood at the door, gently took off her shoes. "I don't want to dirty anything," she whispered to the maid at the door. At that moment, Mark happened to walk out of the house. Seeing Rose changing shoes at the door, Mark hurriedly smiled and ran to her, warmly saying, "Mom, you don't need to take off your shoes. This is your home too." He walked over and hugged her. In that moment, Rose felt that long-lost warmth, and tears involuntarily flowed down. She was not used to so much respect and love. Just then, Mark's wife Kate also walked out of the kitchen upon hearing the noise. Kate was a gentle young woman, and she smiled as she walked to the door to greet Rose. "Rose, welcome." Kate helped her bring in her luggage and gently invited her to sit down. The dining table was already set with hot soup, bread, and fruit. "What would you like to try first?" Kate asked sweetly. Before Rose could answer, Mark came in holding a basin of warm water. He knelt before Rose, wet a towel, and began to gently wash her feet. Rose was stunned and asked, "Mark, child, what are you doing?" Mark, with tears in his eyes, said, "Mom, I'm just returning a bit of the love you gave me. When I had nothing, you washed my feet. I remember when I was young, after working all day, even though you were exhausted, you still washed my feet. From today on, I'll take care of you." Tears flowed uncontrollably down Rose's face, and she gently caressed Mark's hair, a happy smile unconsciously appearing on her face. Her mind involuntarily recalled the scene 35 years ago, when she first met Mark in the orphanage. Kate also couldn't help but shed tears, and the room was filled with warmth and gratitude. But when Mark looked up and saw the tears in Rose's eyes, he asked in surprise, "Mom, did I do something wrong?" Rose took a deep breath and gently said, "Child, you didn't do anything wrong. I'm just not used to so much love." Looking at Mark's anxious expression, Rose suddenly remembered the time she went to visit her biological son Julian a few weeks ago, when Julian was cold toward her, made her take off her shoes, and had her sit in a corner to eat. She felt as though she had become a burden. But today, Mark's love made Rose understand that true family is not defined by blood, but by the love that is passed on. At dinner, the three of them happily sat at the table, enjoying their meal, reminiscing about 30 years ago, when Mark was a child and Rose lived in their modest home in the countryside, leading a poor but happy life. Mark humbly shared his dreams, and Kate brought out dessert, Rose's favorite homemade pudding. Kate smiled and said, "Mark always says that only your pudding is the best." Rose smiled. "The secret is that it's made with love." Thanks to Rose's arrival, that evening, Mark's home was filled with warmth. A few weeks later, Mark and his wife Kate personally drove to Rose's home, wanting to bring Rose to live with them, not wanting her to live alone in the empty countryside. But when Mark and Kate finally managed to drive around the winding mountain roads and arrived at Rose's doorstep, the scene before them left them completely stunned. Want to know what happened next? Write Part 2 in the comments, and I'll tell you.